Welcome, my friends. Today's topic is going to be about what is the ego. I've done a lot of research about this subject and it's very interesting. I have found some mind boggling information about the ego and what it is. It is this very complex construct in the mind. It's a personality, identity, and what we call I is not really you, it's just your ego is master of disguise. It is like an onion. There's so many layers on top of each other. And at one point I thought I had a fairly good understanding what ego is, but turns out it was just another layer of ego. Ego creates this self-image, the illusion of I, that this is who I am. But that's actually just an illusion. It's the matrix of oneself, what you call I. Ego is your thoughts, ideas, beliefs, emotions, and all the things that you have picked up along the way. In theory, it is possible to get rid of completely your ego, but I do not know if anyone has ever reached this level of, consciousness that we would have gotten rid of the whole ego, because it's the whole concept how what goes in your mind. It's most of it is just your ego, and it creates this separation. It creates this me, you, this plant, and everything is separate. But in reality, there is no separation. We are all the same. We are made of the same material and we are in the same network. There are three personality identities which creates this matrix, the illusion of oneself. And these are id, ego, and superego. They are like how I would describe it. It's like a horse carriage. The id being the horse that drives the human being, and the ego would be the rider that who directs the horse where we go, and the superego would be the wise man of this rider telling what is the right thing to do. It is unconscious. It is the pleasure principle. It seeks for immediate gratification. For example, you eat a cake and you feel good afterwards because you had something pleasurable. It's satisfaction of basic needs, such as resting, sleeping, eating, reproduction. And on the other side of the spectrum, we have superego, which is mostly unconscious. It's the moral principle. What is the right thing to do and what is the wrong thing to do? It's combined your norms and rules and morals and what you have learned throughout your life. This is right and this is wrong. Let me give you an example. You have an upcoming test and you need to study this test, but you do not feel like you want to study for the test. That it would be much more pleasurable to go and chill and watch Netflix, but you know that, oh, if I don't study I feel bad and most likely I won't pass the test and I don't get good grades and I don't get into the school. So the superego punishes you with guilt and shame. And the one in the middle is ego. It's the rational thinking, the reality principle. It's the mediator of the id and the ego. It wants to balance these two, that it would make sense in reality. If you have a very strong ego, it's very unconscious living because you constantly hear these voices in your head and you keep having these conversations with your egos and they tell you all these things that what you need to do and what you should not do. But it is the very opposite what we are wanting to attain. It's we want to be in the present. If we are listening to the ego all the time, we are never in the present moment. We are always up in our head. We gotta pay attention to the present moment. Ego seeks approval from the outer world. No matter what it is, it wants fuel. Like we understand whatever runs, it runs with fuel. You need to fill up the energy sources. And how the ego gets fuel is from the outer world. Ego is fear. Ego is judgmental. It puts a value on everything, that this person I do like, this person I do not like, this is good, this is bad, and it puts value and label on everything. And it creates this value system you have within your mind. And this value system you have created in your mind, it doesn't want to be poked because it's your sense of self and your sense of reality. And once this sense of reality or yourself gets challenged by somebody else's idea or beliefs, the ego wants to win. It wants to be better than others. But the truth of the matter is that we are all equal. So now the question is, how do we start dissolving the ego? The path always starts from the craving to know the unknown. Surrender and let go. Pay attention to what's going on around you and what's going on in your mind. That is the start of the ego death. I want to quote Wayne Dyer. He once said that your higher self wants to live at peace, but the ego wants you to live in turmoil in order it to keep the mastery over your life. Your higher self is selfless, and the ego is selfish. It wants to win. The real spiritual student is seeker. It's always seeking what is the real truth. But the ego wants to hide the real truth by creating this self-image, this illusion of I. Attachment is a killer. Detachment sets you free. Detach yourself from the ego and set yourself free. Self-realization. I'm not this body and I'm not this mind. In Hindu philosophy, there's this thing called moksha, which is self-liberation. It's when you lose the sense of self and become one with everything. Free your mind and the ego will dissolve. I want to leave you with a thought. Whenever you have a choice to be right or kind, it's better to be kind. You understand when the time is right. Tolerance over dominance. Namaste, my friends.